Hi everyone, Jessica Morrison, Realtor with FC Tucker Company. We are back with our new home construction series where we sit down with a builder to learn more about the new construction opportunities available around central Indiana. Today we're going to focus on Sheridan, which, if you know anything about Hamilton County, it's a great resource to build locally at an affordable price. And we have Nikki with D.R. Horton today. Nikki, what community are we going to talk about?
Hi, Jessica. We are going to talk about Center Place in Sheridan today.
Awesome. So Nikki Stymac's been in the business for a long time, and I am so sorry. I know we practice this. Stymac?
Stimac.
Stymic. Okay. Lord help me.
That's
I'll get it
okay.
right one
That's
of these
okay.
days. But she's been in the industry for a long time, and I do think that that says something because I've been in this for 10 years, and I only bring that up because I feel like new construction tends to have a lot of turnover. And so Nikki's one of the ones that's been around for a minute. So how long exactly have you been doing this?
I have been doing this 20 plus years, and I have actually been with D.R. Horton the whole time, starting in Chicago. And then we moved here, and I started working for Westport Homes. And then D.R. Horton purchased Westport Homes. So, D.R. Horton is following me around the country.
Yeah, you and I met in Zionsville at Westwood Landing, I believe. So,
Yes, we did. And I live
yeah.
there.
Oh, fun. I guess you still like it.
Yes, I do. Yep.
Awesome. So let's talk about Center Point. How many homes do we have left? Are there more sections coming up? What's kind of the latest and greatest with this community?
Okay. So Center Place has 154 home sites total, which is great. So it's not like huge. So it's, pretty much smaller community, which is nice. The home sites are larger. We have home sites up to a half acre out here. We are located across the street from the schools, directly across the street from the schools. There's a walking path to the library. One of our cul-de-sacs backs up to the library. And we also have a section that backs up to Veterans Park, which is really nice. So we're close to downtown, walking distance. We also are very close to the Monon Trail. They did an extension up to Sheridan. So we have that access as well. We have probably sold about 60 home sites total so far. So we're probably another year and a half left out here to build.
That's excellent. So you would, what section, are you one of five, two of five? How many are there?
Well, right now we're into section two. And so those home sites, and we have a lot of private home sites as well, Wooded, Pond. There are three sections total. So we're well into section two.
That's excellent. So, if you're not familiar as a consumer listening to this, you want to get in if you can at the beginning of the neighborhood if it's going to launch, because that's when you're going to see some aggressive growth, hopefully. Not guaranteed, but statistically highly probable that you'll see aggressive gains in your equity. So, new construction can be a great solution if, especially, you're looking to potentially be in an area for less than 5 years. By the time that new community is finished, you'll still be able to market a fairly new home or almost brand new home if you have to move sooner than later. Um, so that's great. How many homes are in the second section, and how many lots do you have left?
Well, right now we have about 25 in the new section, and then we'll have about 25 or so in the final section. Um, so we do have a few left. And I just want to touch on something. You really hit the nail on the head when you talked about equity, especially here in Sheridan. It's, one of the last properties in Hamilton County. So people buying in Westfield, they're buying at the top of the market. We're here, you're only 10 minutes. You're like 5 minutes from Grand Park, which is huge. They're doing all kinds of new things there. So it would be like a Westfield or a Whitestown. Now is the time to get in where the prices are lower and they're just going to continue to rise. And so equity would be huge for resale.
Yeah, I'm having like maybe flashbacks of like Pretty Woman, where she's like going back to that sales rep who passed on her. She's like, big, huge.
Yes, exactly, exactly. I mean, and it's so true. I did that in Whitestown. I moved from Carmel to Whitestown before, well, during the boom, and our house has gained huge equity. So, I know that the people buying out here will have the same, and it's such a nice, quaint town. Sheridan is just so nice, and the schools are excellent. Really good school system.
Yeah, I think it's a great solution for families who maybe want more of a smaller country feeling, because Sheridan is still vastly surrounded by farm fields. And obviously, you'll need to do your due diligence as a buyer to understand, hey, maybe that cornfield won't remain a cornfield, given the development that's moving that direction. But I do know of several families who have chosen to pull their kids out of a larger school district, to relocate to a community like Sheridan just for that smaller classroom feel. Um,
Exactly.
and it's so funny to be having these conversations. I was K through 12 in Westfield. I grew up 2 blocks from Westfield High School. I have very mixed thoughts on the gentrifying situation happening in Westfield. And that's a soapbox for another day. But it's really fun to see how these different communities over the last 20 years or so have responded to development and opportunities. And like you said, like Whitestown's boomed, and I think that Sheridan and Cicero especially have a lot to offer, with Northern Hamilton County. So,
Oh, yes,
um,
absolutely. Absolutely. Really good stuff.
excellent. Now, something that's been hard to find is the ability to build with a basement. Can you build with a basement in this community?
Not in this location. Basements for new construction are really tricky for time frame. There's not a lot of basement vendors that do poured concrete, and it's very expensive.
Mhm.
So adding a basement could add up to $100,000 onto the price, and it's really not something for this buyer
Okay.
in this
That's
location.
interesting.
Yeah.
So are you saying that from what you're seeing on your side in new construction, is the cost with adding a basement more so because there is a lack of businesses like vendors to serve that need, or are there other factors too?
That's part of it. That's part of it. So timing wise, it could take months just to get a basement dug and poured. So it really alters the time frame of the build. So it's really hard for us to estimate, as a production builder, when is this home going to be completed. And then the cost too, it's very expensive. You have to do the dig. Typically, you have to haul the dirt off, so you have to
Mm.
pay to dig it, pay to haul it off. There's just a lot of extra cost. And in some of our locations, that it might be a higher price point, or if the ground or the land requires a basement because of slopes and stuff like that, then we would have to do basements, but not in this community. No,
Okay.
it doesn't pertain.
Sure. That's really interesting. I think during COVID especially, it was, oh, the cost of concrete is so high. And,
Right.
I'm not saying that that's invalid, but, there's typically objections that are thrown up. So it's interesting to hear that line of thinking as a
Right.
contributing factor. Um, so I think it's been challenging in new construction because, and this is kind of digressing a little bit from this community specifically. But I guess just highlighting the need for homes with basements if you're a buyer thinking of building. I have a lot of clients who would prefer, if they're going to move to a product that does have a basement.
Mhm.
And I think just overall, it seems to be more of a trend, I guess, is what I'm saying, in the last 5 years or so, to see new builds push as much as they can the loft, or I think Fisher Homes kind of tried to get away with like this half basement concept, but Um, Still it's been hard, I think, more so in new construction to find products that offer that. So that's
It really
interesting.
has. It definitely very true. Very true with production builders, especially. Yep.
Sure. Okay. Well, are there any particulars? Let's um, go ahead, since we're talking about this community, let's go ahead and talk about what makes this community special. There's a couple of other options to build in the area. Why would someone find it beneficial to choose D.R. Horton and this specific community?
I would say location mainly for one. Like you mentioned before, cornfields and this and that. The competition is in areas of the cornfields, but here, like I said, we're surrounded by the Veterans Park, the library, the schools. We're walking distance from town. You can ride your bike to the Monon Trail. So location is key. I would say that is the main thing for this community. And then also D.R. Horton does build their homes with a solid plywood wrap, where our competition does build with a foam board. Foam board, you could, if with vinyl siding, you could just take a cutter knife and, cut right through the home, where obviously with a solid plywood wrap, it's not only structurally but for the integrity of the home and insulation wise, it's just a better, stronger build.
Which, let's be honest, it's Indiana. So, the likelihood of high winds or potential tornadoes is, think about the safety of your home. Have you seen any, and this is such an out there question, but entirely relevant. Do you have any data to show that a consumer may pay less in homeowners insurance because of like the higher quality that you're using compared to the example that you just gave?
As far as homeowners insurance, I'm not really 100% sure on that, but I know as far as a home buyer, whenever I bring it up, it's something they really don't even think about, because they're always, they're walking in, they're looking at all of the finishes, ooh, quartz countertops, this and that. But when I make them aware of the build and stuff like that, like a solid plywood wrap, they are like, oh, I've never thought about that before, but you're right. So I really do like to point that out, because it really is important, and much better value for
Sure.
resale too. So insurance, not really too sure, but for resale, definitely a bonus.
And I would imagine your utilities are, speaking of utilities,
Yeah.
one of the most common questions I get is this gas or electric? Can I have a gas stove? Let's talk about that for a minute.
And that's another great thing about us. All of our appliances are gas. So furnace and gas stove, and that's included. So in our appliances, we do include all of them: gas range, dishwasher, microwave, and the refrigerator, because a lot of the builders do not include the refrigerator. And ours is a stainless steel package. So a lot of buyers are happy with that. And a lot of times we'll have promos where we'll throw in, a washer and dryer and stuff like that to,
That's
help.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I had a buyer price one out recently, and when you're a first time home buyer, there's programs out there, but sometimes those, grant money or down payment assistance programs don't always make sense. And so, you start counting the cost and it's like, man, now I got to pay for a fridge. So it's nice that that's at least included. Like you are paying for it in a way, it's just financed into the price of the home. But um, yeah, that's one less thing for a buyer to worry about. Um,
Right.
so when it talks, like, let's say that a buyer came through and we've certainly got the opportunity here in a second to show like a lot map and potential floor plans. I'd love to hear what your favorite floor plan is, but if you're allowed to have favorites as a rep, but, and then, um, it's just really great when you're talking and then the idea can't like exits as soon as it arrives. So I had a point that I was going to go to, but let's just start there, Nikki.
For sure, for sure. So as far as the floor plans go, there's a floor plan we have a floor plan for everybody. So we have, 1 story, different style, one-story plans starting at 1,200 square feet, which is really great for a first-time buyer or a single person. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square feet. Then we have the next one would be 1,500 square feet, a little bit more space, still 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And then we also have an 1,800 square feet, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. That one includes a covered patio. That one does seem to be the favorite, and it offers a lot of just different ways that a homeowner could use their house. We could have one for an office, one for a guest room. So that is a really great plan. And then as far as 2 stories go, we have, they're all 4-bedroom, and then we have one 5-bedroom plan. So we do have 3 different 2 stories as well, starting at 2,000 square feet up to 2,600 square feet. The 2,600 square feet home does offer a first floor bedroom with a full bath. So 3 full baths in that plan with a loft. And homeowners love that loft for a second living space for kids. So we do have 2 plans that have lofts, and then one without a loft, but it's still pretty decent size, 2,300 square feet. So we do have a variety of plans.
That's great. Do you offer the option? I'm seeing a lot of pictures of the specs in your community, and maybe I missed one just now trying to quickly look at it, but are you providing an option for buyers to add a third car garage in their lineup? Because sometimes what I've been also seeing, Nikki, as kind of a trend is like a 4-foot bump out, but not necessarily that third car because the lot sizes are so small.
Right.
So can you do a third car in this community?
If the home site will allow it, then you can, or a 4-foot bump. So you can do either if the home site does allow it, or the building pad, because sometimes the home site might be a very large home site, but the building pad, is a particular size that won't accommodate it. So it just all depends on that. And then also, I really want to point out too, with D.R. Horton, one of the great things about D.R. Horton is they build a lot of spec homes, inventory homes. We call them quick move-in homes. So that we always have inventory on hand in all different stages. So just starting or homes that are coming up for completion. The homes out here in Center Place, it's pretty rare that we ever have one 100% completed, but we always will have them that they could close within 30 days. And that's awesome for people that don't want to go through the whole building process. It's too much, too overwhelming. It's kind of like, here it is. Here you get to, here's this is the house you're buying. And they love that. They love that they can see it. Everything is complete or almost complete, the home site. And so with those homes, for a contingency, if the homeowner has a home to sell, it works out terrifically because they can move right from the home they're selling to the home they're buying, brand new, and not have to pay to move twice, movers, rentals, all of that. So that is really huge. We sell a lot of inventory in this community, especially. So that's really
Yes.
great. And then for homes that qualify, for homes that close by the end of March, right now our interest rate promo would be 4.99 any government loan and 5.5 for conventional. So that's huge too. So we call it basically it's a special promo rate, and we always will have another one coming. So April, we have one for April as well. The rates are a little bit higher for homes that can close by the end of April. So we're really pushing the March closings. And then we also, on top of that, we contribute $4,000 in closing costs. And we'll do that on anything, new builds or inventory homes. And then on the new builds, we also have a promo going on right now, and that would be 3% where you could buy down the rate. So that's huge too, because as you know, you cannot lock a rate for more than 120 days. So that rate, the buy down really is important for a new build. You might not be able to get it as low as the 4.99 or 5.5, but pretty close to that. And then we also have 5,000 in options 4,000 closing costs contribution. So that's a good promo for the new builds as well.
Okay. Yeah, several questions. One that, came back around finally from what I misplaced earlier. So the question was going to be, I'll just list them off and let you respond.
Yeah.
Your building timeline. So if a buyer got under contract today, what's your completion time right now? Um, and then are investors allowed to purchase and rent out the home? Are short-term rentals allowed? And you mentioned the 3% buy down. Are you, in addition to that and the other promos that you mentioned, also offering a buyer agent compensation?
Yes. So as far as the agent compensation, yes, D.R. Horton offers up to 3%, which is awesome. And so I always tell the agents, make sure your buyer agreement is 3%. We won't pay any more, but we don't pay less. So that is an awesome thing. We do, and we love agents. Agents bring us business. It's a great co-op. You have a buyer. You just contact me. What do you have? I'll send you everything that you need. While you are moving on to your next buyer, I can do your legwork for you and just make the process real simple. And we can do everything, via DocuSign. So it just frees up the buyer and agents, and we love our agents very much. As far as investment properties, yes, we do allow them in most all of our, and it's really an HOA thing. But the HOA typically during the building process of the community, they do allow it. It can always change after the community is built out, but the original buyers are typically grandfathered in if they wanted to rent. So yes, they do allow it. The HOA does, but we as a builder do try to control it. Like during COVID and all that, there was a lot of investment buying going on because of the rates and costs and all of that. So we really had to start controlling it because we want our communities to be family oriented, and we really don't want them filled up with a bunch of rentals. So we will allow investment properties, but we definitely monitor how many we're allowing in the community.
Yeah, and I know that every consumer is very appreciative of that effort.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is another long discussion that could be had. And it's a shame because I understand it from an investing perspective, but um, could we, even if you did want to utilize a production company as a private equity firm, instead of adding to the problem, which does eventually just increase your profits, like why not direct that energy towards providing more multifamily homes and instead of apartments, pursue a product that, is a duplex or a fourplex or something that, like these, and maybe that's too specific, but just, um, I think that there's creative solutions if people are willing to have those conversations, but it's easier to take advantage of a system that's already available. So,
Right. Yep. Yep.
um,
It's always a very touchy subject because some buyers, they want that, um, you know, luxury basically, and then other buyers, they do not. So it's just really hard. So that's where we really try to monitor and not have a community filled with it.
yeah, and even if we, just looked at the reality that most investment properties are owned by, a small family, a small business where they may have only one or two rentals, and that's their vessel of retirement or their investment that they want to give and pass on to build generational wealth. And there's a lot of merit to that. So real estate investing is a great strategy for wealth building. It's just, keeping everything in proportion with communities and local economies. So,
Yep.
and then what was the answer for timeline?
Timeline, 4 to 5 months from signing the purchase agreement.
That's great. Do
Yep.
you allow buyers to customize anything, or are the packages pre-selected?
Packages here are all pre-selected, and basically that is for cost reasons, so we can keep the costs lower and provide a better price to the customer.
Well, and that's why you can do 4 to 5 months because you know exactly how much flooring you're going to need. So,
That's exactly right. Yep. Yep.
okay. Well, and from a buyer too, I mean, I know that you may appreciate being able to customize things. That's one of the primary benefits of building is being able to make it exactly how you want. But another way to look at that would be um, you closing in 4 to 5 months versus 9 months, where we
Hmm.
don't know necessarily interest rates are going to be, home
Right.
prices, continued appreciation. Builders don't always like, obviously, no one has a crystal ball. It
Right.
would be very unusual for a builder to price it at one number and then 3 months later have it at a lower number.
Right.
That would not do very well for appraisals. But all of
Yes.
that to
Yes.
say that I just wonder if the data would show that you would gain significant savings by being able to shorten that timeline. And if nothing else, if you're renting, there's theoretically guaranteed savings by being able to move in 4 or 5 months sooner than some of these other builders that are 9, 10, 12 months out, depending on who you
Oh,
pick. So that's
oh, for
nice.
sure. And then tell people too, I mean, you can always customize after you close and it might save you money because, the builder makes money selling options. So, a lot of times customers will get a standard package with plans that's what they can afford, and then their plans are, oh well, we plan on changing out the flooring to this, or they want to add their own cabinet hardware, or switch to quartz countertops. But we do offer, so in this location we do offer our quartz come standard in bathrooms and kitchens here, but there's a lot of things customers can customize on their own after they close.
Which is really great because I do appreciate that you've already gone ahead and made maybe those upgrade, what would be considered an
Yep.
upgrade selection. It's still a stone countertop, but at the end of the day,
Yep.
but I appreciate that in the sense of reducing waste because there is nothing more frustrating than trying to operate within a certain budget as a buyer and knowing I'm going to install this countertop, but I don't want to keep it because, I really like want this type of design. And there's nothing I think more frustrating than paying for something that's built into your mortgage that you can't swap out or get a credit for. And then knowing that you're adding to environmental waste. So unless a
Right.
contractor buys it for a flip, so I appreciate that hopefully we're reducing the environmental waste from these upgrades by providing a nicer
Yes.
product that's more of what buyers generally want anyway. So,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
we've got a few minutes left here. What tips do you have for buyers navigating the spring 2025 market here in Central Indy?
I would say as far as like our interest rates, I that's like a huge thing. So I can't stress enough how much money that would save a buyer on a mortgage payment, hundreds per month. And it's a fixed rate. So I would say, and as far as the rates go, who knows, what the government is going to do with the rates as far as lowering them. They'll never go down to what they were doing COVID. It took a pandemic for them to get as low as that. So I would say, like with our 499, I can't imagine they're ever going to get any lower than that. So that would be something that I would say, if you're, well, even people that are renting, they have a lease, their, lease is not going to be up until fall or whatever. We have several people that have bought out of their leases because of the rate, because that's ultimately going to save them a lot more money than writing out a lease. And a lot of times we'll help them as well with additional closing costs or whatever we can do to get them in now, saving them money.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
As far as those who may be looking at having a home to sell, what are your contingency requirements? Do they have to have the home sold under contract, as a means to purchase?
No, but we just ask that they have it listed. Well, it's for their advantage because even if we have, let's say we have a completed house sitting there, we will still, in a lot of cases, depending on location, but in a lot of cases we'll still offer them a 30-day contingency on a completed home. But for their benefit, they want to have their house listed by the time they do the purchase. And then we require minimum down because we know their money is wrapped up in their current home. So typically it's like $1,000 down on a completed home. We would do 30. We'll do a max of 60-day contingencies. And I mean, hopefully and that keeps the buyer motivated for pricing their home and getting them out and into a new house so they can lock down their new house while they're selling their current home. I think that's huge. And we have a lot of contingencies because of that.
You mentioned something that's very important. So you said $1,000 for earnest money on a completed
Yep.
home. What's your
Yep.
earnest money budget look like for homes that would be a build?
So for a build, we're gonna ask for more money than that because now we're vested into a build specifically for them. So if it's any type of a government loan, we typically ask for 12,000, and for conventional we ask for 15, and they're going to have that for a down payment anyway. So we just want to make sure that they have that up front, and it is refundable if they don't qualify or can't close because of job situation loss or whatever the case may be. So it can be refundable, but if they just decide I don't want this house anymore, well, then we do have a clause for a $6,000 basically restock fee.
Okay, interesting.
Yep.
Okay, well, I think we've covered a lot. If you have to clarify, because a lot of times when people are looking at building, it's because they want things on their own timeline. And typically, when you've got a good home to sell, you're not, I mean, there are certainly special circumstances that escalate a timeline or urgency, understandably. But for those who are looking maybe to take more of their own time and don't want to be forced to list right away, what does that conversation look like with potentially getting under contract, but not having your home ready to list just yet?
Depending on how far out it is. If they're not planning to build for a year, then it's kind of like we'll come back in maybe 4 months or something like that, like on a 6-month time frame. Because I have had that where a buyer needed to close, or they wanted to close a little bit farther out. We just would get them under contract knowing that they want a later closing. We just are not going to start the home. We're going to start the home
Right.
when the time frame works out. So we just do a delayed start in that case,
Okay, that
depending on
makes
how
sense.
far out. Yep.
Okay. Well, I want to be respectful of the time that we talked about today. I'm sure you've got other appointments to get to. Is there anything that you would like to leave our audience with? What's the best way to connect with you?
Best way to connect is directly through me. Our website has our online consultants information. So she can always get that to you. But my phone number, 847-445-4634. Text, call, and email. Just reach out. I can always send my email.
Okay. That sounds great. And if you are a buyer or seller, but thinking about navigating a move in the Indianapolis area, I would be delighted to serve you. If you do not already have an agent to represent your best interests, we're in your corner advocating for you. I'm actually going to be heading to downtown tonight to the MIBOR RPAC Major Investors Dinner, which is such a huge honor. I'm going to be sitting with all of the Central Indiana mayors, which is really cool. I get to hear what's up and coming. But I voluntarily contribute $1,000+ every year to the MIBOR RPAC, which specifically is dedicated to protecting your property rights. I'm planning to go again to Washington, D.C. to advocate on your behalf. Last year we advocated and were able to be successful in protecting our veteran benefits, especially with VA financing, with the lawsuits from the lovely DOJ, with agent representation, ensuring that your property taxes are kept low, making sure that our government understands the need for affordable housing and how that impacts our economy. And so I'm just saying that I truly care about you and our communities by outlining all of that. And so agents don't have to do that. It's not part of our requirement with a license. But I love our industry and I love our communities and want them to be a great place to live. So thank you so much for listening. If you have a community that you are interested in learning more about, please put it here in the comments and feel free to connect at the details in the description of this video. Thank you so much, Nikki.
Thanks, Jessica.